Between 2000 and I think 2010, I taught at a fiddle camp, as they call them, on the Isle of Taransay. Of course, uninhabited just now. That was organised by Fàilte and h-ealainean, which were Dolan Morrison, Kenny Spoonian, Woody, Willie McRae, illustrious luminaries of the Stornoway music scene and Stornoway scene in general. And that was a great success. And we had people coming from all over the world to come and learn fiddle at this particular kind of course, summer school, whatever you want to call it. So it was myself, Charlie McCarran, Patsy Reid, and Alan Henderson that would teach every year. And I think this was maybe the second year of it. So it was still kind of finding its feet. I mean, very well run, of course, but it was, as I say, still finding its feet. So everyone was finding their role in the whole operation. So one of my jobs that year was to go and greet the students coming off the ferry in Tarbert. So we'd take them from Tarbert across to Ardhassig, and then Woody would come with the rib, the semi-inflatable speedboat, and would load them all up there and take them all up to Taransay. And of course, the first shipment of students come in to Tarbert. I'm trying to jolly them along. The weather is abysmal, as is very often the case, particularly around Ardhassig. It was bad in Tarbert, and it got even worse as we went the short trip across to Ardhassig. And yes, absolutely, just bucketing down all the students who have signed up for over a week of camping and fiddle tuition on an uninhabited island are very clearly re-evaluating their decisions. And they're all hanging out in the pier in Ardhassig, and the speedboat's taken a wee while to appear. I'm trying to jolly everybody along, which is getting harder and harder to do as the rain gets harder and harder. And finally, Willie McRae and Woody pull in with the speedboat, and we load up all their gear, and of course it goes into a big container, fiddles and everything like that, and everyone's got their oilskins on, and everyone's getting into the speedboat. And of course the waters are a wee bit choppy, and a lot of people there. We had people from Oxford in England, we had people from upstate New York, we had people from other parts of Scotland, we had a couple of people from Germany, and in fact that year I think we had a couple of New Zealand students as well. So people from all over the world, and people who might not necessarily have been that familiar with sea travel, particularly in a small semi-inflatable vessel. So we loaded them all up, bucketing rain still, pull out into the Sound of Taransay. It's a bit choppy, everyone's looking a bit worried. Pull out into the Sound of Taransay, the skies just open up, sunlight streaming down, the gannets are wheeling overhead and diving all around the boat. The boat's speeding along, and you can see at the same time as the sky is opening up, the eyes of the prospective students, the visitors, all just kind of start opening up as well, and they start thinking, well, maybe this isn't going to be so bad at all. So we eventually get to, I think it was still a fairly makeshift set of pontoons at Taransay at that point. So they were still a bit sugly. And we managed to get everyone and all their gear off the boat without anything going in the drink. And we got everyone set up. And of course, there's 1, 2, 3 buildings on Taransay, so only a few people were housed. So most people were camping. So there was a big kind of pasture in front of the steading, and everyone was pitching their tents and everything like that, including the big marquee. So for evening events, we would have a big session or a dance or whatever in this big marquee. And that's getting pitched. And unfortunately, somebody forgot all of the cable ties, which is a complete disaster. But not one to panic, our esteemed chairman phoned up to Stornoway, and it just so happened that the pilot of the Coast Guard helicopter at the time was a fiddle player himself. So he put in a call for emergency cable ties up to Stornoway. And of course, in not too long, this helicopter appears overhead and lands just a promontory just over the over the pasture, over the over the field there. And of course, all the visitors are just pitching their tents, minding their own business, and this helicopter comes down, which is a very intimidating sight and sound and everything like that. So the helicopter comes down, this fella runs out of the helicopter with a wee packet of cable ties, hands them to Dolan, way back into the helicopter, takes off again, and again the faces and the visitors were just kind of just taking all of this in. They might have, it was obviously very, very foreign to them, the whole thing, but I think they looked pretty delighted after that, because it just suggested that anything could happen that week. So we got everything, and anything did happen. We got everything pitched and got everyone set up, and we settled down for the night, had a bunch of tunes in the marquee, and of course it never really gets dark around that time of year. It was the first week of July, and just as we're all kind of getting out to leave the marquee and start thinking about going to bed, of course all the deer from the hillside had come down, and we're all kind of watching and listening to see what was going on in the marquee, listening to the music. And again, that was it was great to see the faces and the visitors going from abject misery on the pier at Ardhassig to just seeing that collection of deer, just listening to them playing a bunch of tunes. So, and that was in one day, and we had a whole week on the island. So